What's up everyone? Today we're taking a look at SH Figuarts Final Form Frieza. First off, I'm going to run through his accessories. So we've got three heads here. His usual normal smiling face with a bit of a smirk. His screaming face for maybe if he's blocking the spirit bomb or he just threw a ferocious attack. And it's got some nice detail on the side, some molded veins there popping out of both sides, which is pretty cool. And then an angry, frustrated face, maybe like he's blocking an attack or in the middle of a fight, getting surprised by something, getting his tail bit by Goku, something like that. To change his head, you merely pop off the head off of the ball joint that it's sitting on, get a little ball in there, and then you pop on the new head. Next thing I want to call out is he comes with the 5-star Namekian Dragon Ball. And now let's run through his hands. First off, his open hands, which are probably the best ones for holding the Dragon Ball. And to change his hands, just like his head, you just pop them off at the wrist. You'll get a tiny little ball joint there, and then you pop on the new hand. He's got a Death Ball, Death Beam pointy finger here for his right hand. Only one on the right hand, not one for the left hand. Then while we're on the right hand, he's also got this right hand, which is a little bit similar, but it's got a bent finger. It could be for when he is about to kill Krillin, for example. Or the other thing I like to use it for is for his sort of snickering hand at the mouth pose that he does a few times in the show, in games. Or maybe it could be for waving his finger back and forth, being like, no, 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 taunting someone, something like that. Then, of course, we've got a right hand fist and left hand fist. All of the hands do a great job with detail, getting his little black painted thumbnail in there and the closed fist, and all of his fingers have painted fingernails. And then finally, we get these really wide spread open hands, both for the right hand and left hand. This could be, again, for when he's blocking the spirit bomb, or maybe when he's just thrown a huge death ball or something like that. Really nice for those poses that have to do with any sort of blast or ki energy. So now let's talk about the feet. His default feet are the flat feet here, and they look really nice when you bend the ankle down in terms of making him fly and things like that. But they are really hard to make him stand on. I actually haven't been able to make this figure balance on its own 2 feet. Once, I've used the stand in all of the poses that you see, and unfortunately, his tail does not reach down all the way to act as a sort of tripod, so getting him to stand on these feet, on his own 2 feet, is almost impossible, unfortunately. But yeah, those are his flat feet here, and to change his feet, you can just pop them off, just like the hands. And then we get a couple of feet where the claw is more closed, so maybe when he's grabbing someone, like when he picked Vegeta up out of the water with his feet. And of course you get both a right and a left one. And these are also not really any good for making the figure stand up. They can't really balance on these feet either, but they do look really nice, add some nice dynamicy. So if you want to make him grab something with his feet or fight with his feet, you've got those feet as well. Speaking of fighting with his feet, the final accessory for his arms/hands is this pair of crossed arms. And so you can pop off his arms at the sort of bicep right there, right under the shoulder. Both of them pop off. And then you get this pair of crossed arms, which is not articulate. It's hollow on the inside, but it is painted well, painted just like the rest of the figure. And you can connect them to his shoulders to get a sort of nice crossed arm pose there. So it's pretty cool that they included those. You can't really cross his arms naturally just because of the way the hands work. They're not quite that articulate. You can cross them behind his back, but this is a nice option to get him into a crossed arm pose in front of him, which I think that's what he had when he was fighting Goku with just his feet. So that's a pretty cool option there for some more poses, or if you just want to make him look smug with his regular smug face, these arms would be a good choice. On to the final accessory here. He does come with a halo. It's a very simple accessory here. It just pops onto this hole at the top of his head. It does feel a bit small, and maybe the plastic is kind of thin to give it that floating sort of stand look, so be careful with it. But once you pop it on, it looks pretty good. You can rotate it to be more straight, just like this. And now he's dead. Frieza's dead. He's got his halo. Not an accessory I had to have personally, but a pretty cool option if you want a dead Frieza, I guess. And of note, there's only a hole for the halo on his normal, smug, smiling face. His angrier faces do not have a hole at the top of his head. So if you want Frieza to be angry and dead, you're out of luck, unfortunately. Going to have to add the halo in post. On to posability. If you're familiar with the Figuarts figures, you probably have a good idea of it. He's got an ankle tilt here that goes that deep, goes forward that much, goes side to side because of the way the foot pegs on, and can go even deeper all the way around once you pivot it a little bit. Got a nice knee joint that goes about that deep, hip joint that goes up about that far, pretty far, of course, as you get the hip more out there. Goes back quite far as well, on both sides of the leg there. He's got a solid ab crunch at the torso here, that is also on a ball joint, and another crunch up there under the pecs, that is also on a ball joint to get lots of dynamic sort of waist poses there. And this purple part on his stomach has a nice bit of flex to it, so as you're moving him around, it prevents it from breaking and popping off easily, which is a really nice touch. I was really impressed with that. Then he's got a slight butterfly joint here at the shoulder, a shoulder swivel that goes all the way up like this, a bicep swivel of course, elbow joint that goes quite deep, wrist joints, and a ball joint on the head, and a ever so slight neck there. The neck itself doesn't have quite a lot of pivot, but it is there to add a little bit of dynamicy to his head poses. Most of all, though, the ball joint at the top is probably doing most of the work. Posability is why I get the Figuarts figures, and this guy did not disappoint. He lived up to all the posability of the others. The one thing, though, that I wish had another joint was the tail, mostly so that I could make him stand on his own and use the tail as a sort of tripod. As it is, the tail only bends right there where it connects to his butt. It's got a swivel joint there, and it can spin all the way around. Oops, it does pop off easily as well, so be careful about that. But it spins all the way around, tilts up and down in any direction. Getting it to turn is a bit hard. You kind of have to move it solidly there, but yeah, you can get it in any which way. And like I said, unfortunately, it's not long enough to really touch the ground, and I've tried moving it in every which way, and I can't get it to act as that sort of tripod to help him stand. So that's the one complaint I have about his posability, is I wish there was a little bit more in the tail. But otherwise, an enormously posable figure, as you've come to expect from the Dragon Ball Figuarts line. Another thing I want to give a shout out to is just the purple bits on him. They have a really nice, sparkly effect on them that I don't know if it's getting picked up by the camera, but I was really struck by it in person. It looks really good on all parts. I like that they did it consistently on every single piece of him that's purple, even the little part under the forearms here that a lot of people might not notice. It makes the figure really pop on a shelf, and of course, it's like that on all of his alternate heads as well. I also want to shout out to the paint in general. It's very consistent all the way around. It's not just a pure white, it's got some blue, some gray, some different things to give him more definition and just make him feel more alive, so you're not looking at something that feels like, white, unpainted plastic with some purple bits on it. And of course, the paint on the face looks great on all of the face sculpts, in my opinion. I mentioned the fingernails look good, the toenails look just as good. My copy did come with this sort of scratch here on the tail, which is unfortunate, but otherwise I see no imperfections. He looks great paint-wise. And for a quick size comparison, here he is next to Dragon Star's Cooler, Dragon Star's Frieza, Figuarts Kid Goku, and Figuarts Super Saiyan Goku. It's not like I don't know Frieza's a bit small, but I'm always surprised to see just how small he is next to figures like these, especially Goku. But despite his size, he's still really solid. It doesn't feel like he's going to break easily, except maybe for that halo accessory. He's got lots of options for fingers, hands. Overall, I'm really happy with him, and thanks for checking out this review of SH Figuarts Frieza. Get yours today here at Toy Dojo. Check it out in the link in the description.